Well, greetings, Pi Pals. Old Holy Smoking Pi Padre. And I am sharing with you a very special moment here. And what we're going to do here is I going to show you one of my early little Christmas gifts here. And yes, it is Pipe Pals. It is the iPad Pro. So I thought we'd do is just a simple box opening. I haven't done a box opening in a long time. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to do a box opening of the iPad Pro and compare it with your basic good old iPad 2 Air 2 and just kind of look at it. To be honest, I debated long and hard whether or not I really wanted to get the iPad Pro, and this is one of my few Apple purchases that I'm a bit ambivalent about. I am not 100% excited about it. I like Apple products, as you all know, but this product has a lot to be desired. My own personal opinion. There's a lot of Apple features that they should have put on the Pro to truly make it a Pro piece of hardware. But I'm going to allow them to maybe convince me and to see how it works. So I got a temporary a keyboard and case for it, but I am going to probably eventually order the actual Apple keyboard, and also I will order the Apple Pencil. But I have over here a couple of third-party digital pens and pencils here, and I'm going to see how they stack up on the new iPad Pro. So let's go ahead and get to it here. I'm going to go ahead and just here we go. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of pan down. We'll just pan down, not pandemic, but pan down into the world of the Apple iPad Pro.
The music will take us from darkness to light, and the men and handbells will begin in just a second.
So that's what we're going to do today, folks. We're going to just open this up here. I'm going to get, hold on just a second, I'm going to get a knife here.
Flute, harp, and organ, and even the audience all have a part to play, as you'll soon hear. But the focus really is on these talented 62
there we go.
singers of the National Lutheran Choir.
There's the knife. Actually, I wonder if I could do I have my Skeen Do, but this time I think I'll just go for just a regular old house kitchen knife. And off comes the plastic. Here it is, the iPad Pro. I got the black version this time. I usually go with white and gold, but I think black is also very nice as well. There it is in all of its glory. Let's see if I can turn it on. So probably what I'm going to do now is I'm probably going to just do the next phase of this, and that is set it up for yours truly. And well, it is quite big. I will say that. It is a big iPad. Yes, it is. Okay, so I'm going to set this up and then I'll be back a little bit later. So anyway, this has been kind of a simple box opening of the iPad Pro. Thanks for watching. Be back later. And here is my new iPad Pro. Yes. Wow. Okay, using the old, the old, the iPad. I guess the camera's right there. Where's the camera? Where's the camera? Is the camera right? Wow. Okay, so let me see if I can get this to work here. Okay, so now I'm using the iPad Pro camera, which isn't that great, but hey, you know what? I think it's about comparable to the iPhone. Okay, so there we have it, using the new iPad Pro, listening to some Christmas music. Hey, all right. Merry Christmas. Okay. Okay, Pipe Pals, I'm back, and here I am inaugurating the new iPad Pro, and as you can see, I got my iPad Air 2 over there, and we're gonna try and edit all this on the iPad Pro using iMovie. But I like to call this one here because I normally have been, the last few years, I really like the white and gold versions of the Apple products. But this one here, I have to affectionately call, because it's all black and gray, my Darth Vader Mac, or my Darth Vader iPad Pro. I married up the iPad Pro with this keyboard. This is a Logitech keyboard, as you can see right there. It's hard to quite get that in focus. Okay, so that's the Logitech keyboard there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably just do kind of a dual camera angle here, starting with this camera and with the iPad Pro camera. Now this problem with this camera here is, now I'm back to my iPhone camera, and now I'm back to the iPad Pro camera. Okay, not sure I can do this here. Okay. Well, good evening to you all. Hope you're doing fine. I'm trying to get in the Christmas spirit. Yeah, got some my very I don't know whether that yellow. There's a little yellow square there. I don't know what. Oh, I'm not recording yet. Okay. Well, now I'm clearly recording on my new iPad Pro. And here is my very wonderful pipe that someone sent to me a couple of years ago. It's a volcano kind of a pipe. I call it a volcano pipe, egg pipe. And in it, I'm smoking, again, very appropriate for the season, some Boswell's Christmas cookie. Christmas cookie. Yeah, right there. Boswell's, right there. Yeah. Okay. So there you have it. So I'm going to try and just put this movie together kind of simply, if I can. I wanted to share with you the iPad Pro box opening. I guess the camera's right there. Okay. So I always have to, make sure I'm talking into the camera. That I'm actually, I always look at the screen as the camera, but actually the camera's right there. Okay. Anyway, so it's been a few weeks since I've talked to you all. I am in the process of recording my Christmas video to you, and you, and you, and you. So anyway, so what I wanted to do with the remainder of this video tonight, it's Saturday night. Tomorrow is the third Sunday in Advent. And, you know, I just wanted to kind of, again, touch on a topic that, well, it's current affairs. There's no doubt about that. And for some people, it may be a bit, maybe not offensive, but irritating. But I just feel that I really kind of want to share what's going on in how I feel about certain things, in addition to, sharing with you my daily life. Oh, one last thing I want to show you is I actually trying to get into the Christmas spirit this year, and I actually put up some earlier today, and I roll some B-roll there. There's the old rectory there in the afternoon, and here it is with some Christmas lights on it. Hooray, 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 okay? Yeah, so I went out and spent about 2 or 3 hours working on putting these lights up. And I won't go into all the details. It was a little bit of a pain in the rear end to do it. But anyway, I think it's... When I was, I've always liked Christmas lights. Now maybe some people just don't like Christmas stuff at all. That means you couldn't enjoy Christmas cookie, now doesn't it? Maybe they're going to outlaw Christmas cookie next. Could be. Perish the thought. But anyway, so what I was going to say is when I really began to appreciate, I've always liked Christmas lights, but when I began to truly appreciate Christmas lights was when I was a chaplain in Bosnia. And Bosnia, for the most part, is a third world country. And, there's a lot of poor people there because of the war, or the war it used to be. I don't know if it's probably still going on. But it was predominantly a Muslim country. But during Christmas, when we were doing some of our Humvee drives, and it kind of got late at night, or late in the afternoon, once in a while, not a lot, but once in a while, you would see a little house, little hovel, with a little, string of lights around the window. And it really brought back, some cheer, some warmth when you saw those glowing, colorful Christmas lights. And there weren't very many houses that had them, but once in a while, dotted here and there, you'd see one little house with maybe a humble string of Christmas lights, winking away in the winter night. Quite, it just, I've seen some Christmas lights, and there are people that I don't know how they pay their electric bill in January. But, and I like Christmas kitsch, don't get me wrong. Sometimes the kitschier the better, but sometimes there's years where I just don't have time to do it. And this year, I decided that, although I didn't really want to do it, I kind of thought, maybe maybe because last year I was told by the deacon today, he drove up and saw me struggling with, well, not struggling, but, trying to get these lights up. And he goes, I can't remember the last time there were lights on the rectory. He goes, it's been a while. And the thing was that last Christmas, the priest that was here, he decided he wanted to go and work in another diocese. And so Christmas Day, he said the masses and left. And I thought, now there are probably a few people that are hoping I do the same thing. But I just felt that maybe in some ways it might be a comfort to some people, maybe not everybody, to know that there's a priest that's in the rectory and, he's not really planning on going anywhere, because sometimes people get a little bit nervous and upset, well, who's going to be here? Is there going to be anybody here? Especially if there's a hospital call or somebody needs to talk to somebody, that kind of thing.
I'm Kevin O'Connor, and a holiday selection next from the Eakin Trio.
So anyway, I just thought it would be a nice thing to do to put up some Christmas lights, and so that's what I did today, and hopefully a few people will find it a comfort, as I did when I was an army chaplain driving in Bosnia about 17 years ago in those cold winter nights. So, okay. Well, I wanted to talk about something that's been going on for the last few weeks. And it's not just the war on Christmas. Those evil people at Starbucks, they took off the snowflakes. How dare them? Don't think snowflakes have an awful lot to do with the true meaning of Christmas. Snowflakes, to me, kind of talk about wintertime in some parts of our country, like Lake Tahoe and Heavenly Valley and Minnesota and places like that. Fargo, North Dakota. Been watching Fargo a lot. Yep, you betcha. Sure. Anyway, but the war on Christmas has been heating up. But more to the point, I want to just say that there's a real war, whether you like to admit it or not, against Christianity. And I'm not here to whine and complain, but there's a curious phrase. I've mentioned this before in the TV show Game of Thrones. And apparently this culture or cultures seem to be going through some kind of a paradigm shift when it comes to their religious beliefs or myths or legends or whatever, or faith or teachings, whatever. And there's like this cultural estuary, There's just kind of this colliding, if you will, of different beliefs and faiths and things of that nature. And so there's a curious statement that some of them say when they're trying to cover all their bases. Well, by the old gods and the new gods, they'll say. They say that phrase quite a lot in the TV show Game of Thrones. And in some ways, I think it's a reflection of our society today, because if you read stuff in the Puffington Post, these people pretty much are pretty anti-religion and really anti-Christian for the most part. And what is happening is that they're trying to say, well, real Christianity is this and all this other stuff, the rules, the teachings, the doctrines, the dogmas, that has nothing to do with it. In fact, it gets a little more serious, I think, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But their whole understanding is that, well, basically, Christianity is nothing more than social work, welfare. Christians are supposed to basically, give everything to the poor. And they assume that Christians aren't doing that. The majority of Christians don't do that. And I can tell you, being a padre for the last 24 years, that is just not true. Now, some of you have gone to churches before, maybe it's non-denominational churches, a Methodist church, Baptist church, Church of Christ. I mean, it doesn't, but you're all familiar with the collection, right? They pass the collection plate around, right? Everybody knows that. But that's not the way it is in the Catholic Church. And you say, oh, yes, they do. They pass the collection plate. I know, I've been there. And what I'm trying to tell you is that we don't pass just one collection plate, we pass two. Almost at every service now. Now, to be sure, there are times in the history of the world where we have natural calamities. Tsunamis, floods, earthquakes, forest fires, raging fires, you name it. And the people of God, and also good, just, average, regular people, good citizens, will band together and do donations, and they'll collect all sorts of things to include money for the relief effort. But Catholics, and again, I'm sure a lot of Christians are doing this now too, there isn't just one collection that's passed, it's two. And there's even one or two times a year where there's even three to some extent. We have right now, in addition to the collections, we have 4 or 5 major charities in the city that people are giving to, in addition to just their own people that they see on the streets. So for them to say that Christians and I guess maybe even Catholics a little more specifically, they're a bunch of stingy people, they don't really follow the gospel, all they want to do is talk about, excluding people and making people feel bad. One guy said, well, the true meaning of Christianity is Matthew 25, verses 35 to 45. And basically, for those of you who'd like a little paraphrase of what that is, that's Matthew's gospel is where Jesus says, hey, when you have seen your brother naked and you did this to him, you did it to me. If you've seen him hungry and you did it to him, you did it to me. If you've seen him thirsty and you gave him a drink, you did it to me. But if you saw him and you didn't do it, you didn't do it to me. And if you didn't clothe him, you didn't do it to me. And if you didn't feed him, then you didn't do it to me. Okay. So he's saying that's what real Christianity is. It's not about all this rule keeping and all these dogmas and doctrines. Well, actually, it's both and. It really has to, people have to understand that. And from the Liturgy of the Hours, I read this little morsel from Ephesians, which I thought was kind of a little parry to, again, Matthew 25. Not to say that Matthew 25 is not good. Of course, Matthew 25 is good. By nature, it says in Ephesians, we deserve God's wrath, like the rest. But God is rich in mercy. Again, year of divine mercy. Because of his great love for us, he has brought us to life with Christ when we were dead in sin. For this favor you were saved. You see, you have to understand that the message of Christianity, the mission of Christianity, is the salvation of a person's soul. The work of Christianity is, yes, feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, welcoming the stranger. It's interesting that the one person that really typifies the naked, the hungry, and the stranger is the little baby in the womb. And so many of these people would be quick to abort that little naked, hungry stranger. So again, many Catholics, many Christians are constantly practicing the good works of Christianity, but that's not the message, that's not the mission of Christianity. Look at, and I point to this real quickly, the mission of Christianity can be found in Jesus' address at the Ascension.
bit of festive medley there
And a lot of people
Christmas music.
kind of go, whoa.
From Joy to the World. Good
Again, when a
performances
person is getting ready to leave, they want to instill the most important thing
O'Connor, a daily download.
with their disciples, right?
Anytime, free.
You guys are going to be carrying all my work. This is what I want you to do. And what does he say? Notice what he does not say in any ascension address in any of the Gospels. He doesn't say, go out into all the world and build soup kitchens and feed the hungry. Noble effort, but he doesn't say that. Notice that he does not say, go out and build homeless shelters and provide homes and shelters for the homeless. Doesn't say that either. He also doesn't say go out and build hospitals and heal the sick or take care of the sick. Doesn't say that either. Great noble endeavor, no doubt about it. But that's not what Jesus says. What does he say? He says, go into the world and preach that the remission of sins is to be preached, and baptize them, make disciples in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. That's the mission of the gospel, is to make disciples, to help people save their souls. But people don't want to hear that message because it requires repentance. The year of mercy just started, and folks, if you're thinking, oh, well, the Pope is so cool, and he's so nice, and he's so understanding. No, the Pope, if you actually went up and asked him, is it okay if I had an abortion? Is that okay? Is it okay if I sleep with my boyfriend? Is it okay if I do these other things that are clearly have scriptural injunctions against them? He'd probably say, you need to confess that. You need to repent. Because why? Because sin brings about death. It brings about, death now, and it brings out eternal death later. And we have to take that seriously. But people in this world today don't do that. In fact, they don't want to hear that message. Again, they want to hear a message that it's okay to be the way I am, whatever, and God understands and it's cool. Well, God may understand to a certain extent. Certainly God understands everything. But he wants the best for us. And sometimes I think we live in a society now that doesn't want to seem intolerant. I think that is the one virtue right now that we see being played out over and over and over again. Oh, I don't want to be intolerant. And yet, there has to come a time, maybe it won't be now, because everybody now is on the, we want to be open and understanding and let people be people, okay? Now, we live in a free country, thanks be to God, at least we still do. Although, honestly, there is a war on Christianity. You can't have nativity scenes up. Yet you can spout all sorts of blasphemous stuff and put it up there and say that's free speech. But if you wanted to put, the Ten Commandments, that's not free speech anymore. That's separation of church and state. You can't have that. Oh, wow. So there's unfortunately, there's something very hostile going on with the world today. In other words, the old gods, if you will, or the old way of seeing faith is not tolerated. In fact, they're trying in many places to outlaw that. So that's why I am very concerned. But I think deep down inside, all of us, whether we want to be politically correct or we want to be seen as being, real tolerant and understanding, and there's a place for that. Again, the people are going to disagree, and you don't go around, killing people just because they don't agree with you. But at the same time, you have a freedom to say, I'm sorry, I disagree with you. We've had this discussion before, I know. But what I'm concerned about is that the opposite side of the discussion is now almost being outlawed. We don't want to hear that message anymore. You can't say those things anymore. You know, we'll label you hate speech or bigot or whatever. And I think it's important that, you know, people have a fundamental respect for other people's opinions and not try to, you know, squelch them, I should say. You know, that's not free speech, because if you're gonna say, well, you can't believe what you believe anymore because we don't believe that anymore, and now we're gonna make it even outlawed. The moment you do that, the moment you take away my free speech, it'll be just a matter of time. Maybe not next year, maybe not next decade, but someday someone's going to come along and say, you can't think that way. You can't believe that way. You can't practice that way, because we're not going to let you. So this is my little pre-Christmas video. I have another Christmas video that I'm working on now. But I just kind of wanted to share some of these thoughts and feelings. Again, not to really rouse anybody's anger or ire, but to just say, you know, there's got to be a balance somewhere. You know, there's got to be a place where, you know, you can have effective dialogue, even if you disagree with somebody, but to the point of, you know, saying, now we're going to outlaw. Isn't that what happens in fascist countries or totalitarian countries? You can't think that way. Ooh, that's a scary place to live. Don't know about you, but I don't want to live there. Okay? I'd rather live in a place where I could say, you know what? I disagree with you. I don't agree with you. I think it's wrong. I think whatever it is that you think or do, I'm sorry, it's wrong. Okay? But at the same time, I'm going to say, well, okay, this is a free country. You have a right to your opinion, and you have a right to live your life. Okay? The pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness, right? And I believe, as a believer, that the right to life is a very fundamental one. Okay? So if people want to say, well, you know, you can't believe that anymore, you know, they call us anti-abortion. No, we're pro-life. We really are. And just because a few individuals, or one or two individuals, decide they want to take the law in their own hands, that's the individual. That's not the church. You know, I didn't have marksmanship training in seminary, you know, to shoot abortionists. So, you know, to say, oh, the church is going to start killing abortionists. No. Individuals, sad to say, have done that. That's lamentable. That's wrong. You know, again, here's the thing, and I'm going to close with this. You have to be able to look beyond the group or the institution or whatever it is, and look at those individuals that are truly responsible. You know, I've had in my life 3 Christians that stand out in my life. 3 Christians that were pretty bad. Certainly they were bad examples, but they were really, really messed up. One of them was, I have to say, he had a lot of power. He just was into power. And if he could mess up your life by what he said and what he could do to your life, he would do that. But I realized that he didn't represent, he wasn't the church, okay? He just wasn't. He had his own opinion. I didn't agree with it. I let him know that. This was a minister. So we parted ways. It wasn't friendly either. It was pretty bitter. Another person that I had a sad relationship with was a person who truly had some emotional sickness. I don't know what it was in their life, but they truly were emotionally messed up, and they said and did things that were very, very painful and hurtful to me and lots of other people. But again, I recognize that that's an individual. It's not the institution. And then I think the third one, Christian minister, church person, Christian person, was somebody I met, and they were motivated by politics. They had a political agenda, no doubt about it. And I did not fit into his agenda, and he knew that, and we both knew that. And he was going to, because of his agenda, he was going to make sure that I was going to get hurt. If you stay in this program or you stay in this situation, you're going to get hurt, buddy. And I just thought that was wrong. Okay, all three of these people, had for whatever reason, whether it was power, emotional sickness, political ideology, they had their own agendas. But I never thought for 1 minute that they truly were representative of what true Christianity was all about. So anyway, I'm just trying to say, what am I trying to say? I'm just trying to say that right now, tonight, December the 11th, 2015, we still live in a free world, or at least a free country. And I, for one, want to keep it that way. But the moment we begin to outlaw somebody else's philosophy of life, or how they interpret the scriptures, or their religious affiliation, we're in serious trouble. And that's where I'm really nervous about tonight, because I see it going that way. People are not tolerant now of Christianity. So is there a war on? You betcha. And we need to be able to stand up while we still can, because if we don't stand up for our rights, they will take them away from us. But we still have that right to speech, free speech, and I, for one, want to exercise that. Because it's one of the best Christmas gifts ever. It makes great Christmas gift. So, remember that. Free speech. Wonderful Christmas gift. Okay. Well, listen, I've rambled on long enough. Thanks for watching on my new iPad Pro. Yes, and I know I'll talk maybe more about that in my next video. I was really debating whether or not I wanted this iPad Pro. In some ways, I like it. It's a nice thing, but I'm not 100% sure what the niche is for it right now. So those of you who are my techie guys that watch me for tech stuff, you're probably wondering, well, what do you think of it actually? Well, the jury's still out right now. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to use it for. I mean, I'm certainly going to be able to use it, but I want to find a daily workflow that I can use this on. And we'll just have to wait and see. It's a great screen. It's supposedly 4K video, and I'm not shooting 4K video, obviously, no. But it's a nice screen, and I actually have been using it. I've been trying to learn different techniques with it, and I can't wait to get my Apple Pencil and actually do some real drawing, because I used to draw in college and high school. So anyway, thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Advent. Light up your world, light up your pipe, and hopefully we'll visit soon. Bye-bye.